Good morning and welcome to this webinar. This is on creating mini lessons for reading to help your students. If you want to create super people, then you will teach your students how to use context clues. And you can do this in just 15 minutes. Now you could break it up into several sessions where that you would hone in on particular context clues, or like what I'm doing today, I'm using 5 of them. Now there is a method to this. There are 4 steps that you're going to use, and it's going to take you about 15 minutes. First, you're going to introduce the skill that you're using. Then you're going to instruct, and this part, 10 minutes, it's broken up into 2 5-minute segments. Then in 5 minutes, you're going to interact with your students where they're going to interact with you. And finally, close. Let's look at that in more detail. As I said in the first one, it is introduce. You actually take a minute to introduce the skill. You do not stop and say to the students, any questions, or do you have that? No, you just introduce the skill. Then when you go to instruct, remember it has 2 parts. The first part for 5 minutes is where you're going to explain the basic skills, and you're going to have an anchor chart that you will use. In an additional 5 minutes, you're going to model the physical steps while you think aloud, so that they can see how your thought process, and hopefully in the 3rd step where that you're interacting, you're again going to be thinking aloud, but you're asking them to think aloud and to help you with the context clues. The final step, close, is where you have assigned a reading, and the students are going to practice or apply the skills that you have just used. In steps 1 and 2, students do not ask questions, they simply observe. It is in step 3 that you all interact, and step 4 where they are on their own, employing the skills that you have taught them. Okay, let's talk about introducing the skill. We're going to identify the skill, then we're going to define it, and then we're going to let the students know the purpose of it. I think that we all do better when we actually know why we're doing something. So here I am. Remember, I'm using context clues. I would say to the students, the skill that we're going to be working with today is context clues. What do I mean by context clues? Well, context clues are the clues or hints that are in paragraphs or sentences, reading passages, that help you, the reader, to understand the meaning of a new or unfamiliar word. Why do we want to learn this? Well, guess what? A dictionary isn't always going to be available, so you need to know, what does this word mean? Are there any clues so I can figure it out? And then another reason is sometimes words have more than one meaning. So we want to figure out from the context in which this word is used, what is its meaning? Okay, this is the say what stage. And we're going to look at 5 types of context clues today. Now, there are 9 or 10 different ones, types that you have, but today we're just going to look at the 5 that are most commonly used. A definition, and I think everybody knows what a definition is. It's just, what is the meaning of this word? And sometimes you'll find where it is stated right there. For instance, look at the first example. An American goldfinch is a small yellow bird. Okay, we know what American goldfinch is. Or look at the next example of a definition. Here we have a positive. The American goldfinch, a small yellow bird, is common in California. A second contextual clue is a synonym. And I think we all remember synonyms. Those are our favorite ones when we're actually paraphrasing. Sometimes we'll go and we will try to find synonyms for words. They're words that have the same meaning in the text. Here's an example. A school or group of fish moves in a harmonious pattern through the water. You might not have known what a school meant. It's like a school of fish. Well, here it showed us it's got or. Oftentimes they will use or. Antonym, words that have the opposite meaning. And we'll have clues for those where it'll say but or however instead. On the other hand, here, I thought a tomato was a vegetable, but it turns out to be a fruit. Okay, so a tomato is what? It's a fruit. The fourth type, the example. Oftentimes you'll have it introduced with phrase such as for example, or including, or such as. And here's our example of the example. To use less salt in cooking, try fresh herbs such as basil, oregano, and rosemary. And sure enough, we had that phrase, such as, to clue us. Then we have general contextual clues. It's just like non-specific clues are spread over several sentences in a text. And this one is giving us a clue of what the game of lacrosse is. It says lacrosse is becoming more popular. You might go, what is lacrosse? Okay, here, players have to be able to run up and down the field. They also have to use a stick with a little net to throw the ball and make goals. We've painted a word picture here so that you can see what lacrosse is. Now, to summarize, we're going to be looking for 5 types of clues today: definition, synonym, antonym, example, and a general one. Here is our first reading. Let's see if we can figure out from this is from the story The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen. And let's say that we are new to this story and we're reading it. Here we go. The poor duckling had crept out of his shell last of all. He looked so ugly. He was bitten and pushed and made fun of, not only by the ducks, but all the poultry. Poultry? What's that mean? Well, I look there before it and I see a duck. Not only by, okay, so a duck must be a kind of poultry. Okay. He is too big, they all said. The turkey who fancied, okay, the turkey, The turkey's making fun of him. Turkey must be poultry. Well, I've got a duck and I've got a turkey. Maybe a duck is a kind of a bird, a turkey's a kind of a bird. So maybe poultry means birds, okay? And it sounds like birds that we eat, okay? He is too big, they all said. The turkey, who fancied himself really an emperor, puffed himself out like a vessel in full sail. I wonder what fancied means. Who fancied himself really an emperor. I bet that means he thinks himself really an emperor. He believes that he is. But I can tell that it means he's mistakenly believing that he is something. Okay, a vessel. Where is my clue? Sail. In full sail. It must be a ship. So I could read this as the turkey who believed himself really an emperor puffed himself out like a ship in full sail. Yes, that makes sense. He flew at the duckling and became quite red in the face with passion. If he flew at him and his face is red, I wonder, passion. He's got a red face. I bet he is angry. So he flew at the duckling and became quite red in the face with anger. The poor little duckling did not know where to go. He was quite miserable because he was so ugly and laughed at by the whole farmyard. Well, I can figure out if he doesn't know what to do, and he thinks that he's ugly, and everybody's laughing at him. So if he's miserable, he's probably extremely unhappy. The poor duckling was driven about by everyone. Even his brothers and sisters were unkind to him. What could unkind be? How were they treating him? They're treating him mean. So they were mean to him. They would say, you ugly creature, I wish the cat would get you. I think I have a clue. A cat. What is a cat? A cat is an animal, okay? The ducks pecked him, the chickens beat him, and the girl who fed the poultry kicked him with her feet. So at last he ran away, frightening the little birds in the hedge as he flew off. Frightening them. What could that be? Or do you think they're happy? Probably not, because he left in such a hurry. Maybe it just made them jump, sort of. He's probably scared them. So, as you have seen, we have used clues in the reading to figure out what it means. Now, let's work together, you and I, and let's figure out what these words mean. We're going to find acoustics, vibration, molecules, high-pitched, low note, volume, energy. Okay, here we go. The world around us is filled with sound. There are loud sounds and soft sounds. There are pleasant sounds and unpleasant sounds. At this very moment, you are surrounded by sound. Where does sound come from? How does it get to your ears? Why are there different kinds of sound? The study of these questions about sound is called acoustics. Who can tell me what kind of clue is this? Yes, it's a definition, because notice it says the study of these questions is, okay, acoustics, okay. What are my questions? Well, where does sound come from? How does it get from to your ear? Different kinds of sound. Let's go to our next paragraph. Imagine a cymbal hit with a drumstick. The cymbal shakes rapidly, and this vibration causes the tiny particles in the air around it to vibrate. What could vibration mean? Oh, look. Look at this clause before this vibration. The cymbal shakes rapidly. So it means that it is shaking rapidly is when we vibrate. These vibrating air particles, called molecules, here, what have we done? We have defined it, called molecules. Bump, and it's almost like a synonym. Bump into the air particle next to them and make them vibrate. This spreading vibration moves outward in every direction from the cymbal in waves. When a small object is made to vibrate, the sound waves move up and down very quickly. This produces a high-pitched sound, like a high note in a song. When a large object is made to vibrate, the sound waves move up and down more slowly. This produces a low-pitched sound like a low note in a song. Hitting a small cymbal makes a more high-pitched sound than hitting a large cymbal. Let's go back and let's look at high-pitched. I have an example, don't I? It says, like a high note in a song. Ah! Okay, there. I think that was more like a shriek than actually a song. But that's the best. You see why I'm a teacher and not a singer. Okay, so high-pitched, that would mean a high note in a song. And then low note, look back before it. Low-pitched sound. The volume of a sound depends upon the amount of energy or force applied to the object that is caused to vibrate. If the cymbal is hit very hard with the drumstick, the volume of the sound is louder than if it is hit lightly. Okay, what could it be? What is volume? Volume is how loud something is, right? Yes, because we have, it's louder. Okay. What is energy? Who can tell me what energy is? Read the sentence. The sound wave created by a hard hit carries the energy of the hit along with it. What would that be? A hard hit. It carries it along. It's when a sound wave hits an object, the force that the sound waves carries causes movement in the object it hits. What did it just say? It gave me the clue here. What was the clue? The force that the sound makes. Okay, so it is force. An extremely loud sound wave, such as the sound of thunder, can actually make the ground shake. Now, this was interaction, and you would have actually been speaking with your students. They would have replied to you. Let's review the steps in a mini lesson. The introduction is 1 minute. The instruction, the say what and say how, are 10 minutes, 5 minutes each. During steps 1 and 2, the students simply observe. They listen and observe. It is in the third step, the interaction, where that they actually interact with you and you all work together to decipher the context clues. The closure is where you assign a reading passage. You might say, you should read the Welt before class on Tuesday. And the students are expected to use the context clues to decipher any words that they don't understand. And you might check it by having a discussion of it. Have them keep a journal of new words and write their words and let the class know how did they decipher the meaning. Now, today's lecture was based on a handout from Smeakin Education, and you will notice here that you can go, it has the 4-step lesson architecture. On the second page, it shows the different purposes and power. And notice, I teach where you watch and listen. I do, you watch and listen. And then for the third one, where they actually interact, you do, and they help. The handout also has a whole class mini lesson planner. You can download this by going to this link, and I will type it in the chat so that you can copy it, and then you can download this. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this lesson will help you and your students and make them into super people. Again, thank you.